I'm back. I spoke yesterday very largely about the cyber military, the state of the functional government of America, the lack of congressional affiliation with the fields that are more influential in the overall decision making in society nowadays. The functional capabilities of a human mind cannot be overlooked, but your Congress and lawmakers and even state legislature does not have that background. That, among some of humanity's greatest threats, which are primarily new, retrospectively, even with all this going on so suddenly, we might want to assess our problem-solving capabilities to handle these issues before they spiral out of control. We can start with some areas of great controversy to assess our problem-solving skills. Perhaps we can highlight abortion as an area of great controversy in a place like this, in a time like now. The question between conception and a fully developed embryo is, where is the instance of a life? And at what point is it wrong? Analytically, for the duration of that time frame, there is developing life. I would probably place the mark at infant homicide, somewhere around the point of neurological development, which is perhaps 3 to 4 weeks. With a large variety of contraceptives, if you didn't want to have a kid, and you did, you were already showing extreme irresponsibility if you end up at the point where you have to make that decision. Still, that is a reasonable time frame to go about doing something like that. Past that point, it would be hard to justify what you're doing as not what it is. I consider life, from my perspective, to be something that I can consciously acknowledge. And to consciously acknowledge that I am alive, I need thought. So for this reason, rather than define physical components, I've used neurological development to set my own barrier for moral grounds on such a controversial topic. 16, 17 may commit crimes. The punishment is typically less than you'd be tried in an adult court. But for serial murderers at 16, 17, or cases of extreme felony crime, typically about the same. Suddenly, when you turn 18, you're on a very different playing field. You're suddenly expected to have this extreme amount of responsibility as a citizen, law-abiding citizen in society. Which means it's not perfect. It's not the smooth progression into adulthood, but it's about the best we can do. I liked it. I was not the juvenile serial murderer. Probably neither were you. If you were put in prison at that age for the rest of your life, you might grow old and have a stranger perspective than some of us. As people, we seek order and rules. We've constructed an organized civil society that functions quite well. There will always be these gray areas. Not everything is so black and white. This is something that needs to continue to be understood. I'm frightened that a lot of young adults are seeing the system as black and white and regulatorily perfect. It is both dynamic and imperfect, as is the state of the entire world at all times.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it either, but like, maybe.
This is somewhat aligned to the idea that your path has been set out for you, and that is your only option. And a man stood here for quite some time trying to tell you that it's not that way, and there is a truth. I'm working nights. In the modern world, among these topics, there are a lot of gray areas that are very new. There are problems associated with these problems that we have yet to even discover. It may take time to see those. It may take foresight to try to identify some of those problems as components of the problems that we're trying to solve through perfect regulatory order. Because the list of new problems is so large, the interconnected dynamic of them is much more difficult to assess. This is something that we must do. Without the responsibility to embrace the foresight to assess these problems early, they could manifest themselves simultaneously with dire consequences in the future, such as your phone being programmed with AI for you to like it. And no rules about that in this country. It takes a lot of effort to go about doing that. This student body represents a subset of people that are capable.
Just in case. Okay, what do we need? There's a selfie on the step.
Show the potential to take these problems
Okay, where to?
and assess them for the greater good of the future. I don't mind. That is somewhat the goal here.